So the Ngarrindjeri people, kuti, kuta, was a vital food source for the Kurung Ngarrindjeri. These middens behind me are the evidence of Ngarrindjeri people living here on the Kurung, lakes and Southern Ocean for thousands of years. We've lived here, camped, and this sustained us. So what we're looking at here are all the shells that have just been discarded after being eaten.
Up until the turn of the century, pippies were used predominantly as a bait, and you would hang them off your fishing hook and go and catch a King George whiting or a garfish. A couple of the more progressive fishing families started to look at desanding the pippies. So the Hode family are the fishers that I hoped I would one day be, but I'm nowhere near tough enough. Their father, Kevin Hode, was one of the people who initiated harvesting pippies, and Darren tells me stories about the time when Darren and his brothers with Kevin would go and literally build a shanty hut on the beach out of driftwood and other things that washed up on the beach, and they would fish for a week and bury the pippies in sacks in the sand as some sort of way of keeping them cool.
When we first started, it was like just a 100% bait fishery, and back in those days it was just like catch as much as you can and just to try and make money, because it wasn't a worthless commodity. So then about 25 years ago we started purging, and that sort of turned the whole industry on its head. So yeah. And through a fair bit of hard work by all of our family members, we sort of built up a food market and did a lot of work to get the industry going.
Another family that's involved in Goolwa Pipi Co is Greg Kasijan and his wife. He was a guy who worked basically 24/7. He was one of the first true believers to say maybe there's a smarter way for us to do this. In 2014, we welcomed the investment from Kuti Co, which represents the Ngarrindjeri Nation, which are the group of fishers who have obviously been fishing this resource sustainably for 19,000 years. So we've come full circle, and working with those guys is teaching us things about this fishery that we didn't really understand until they were part of the business. Recreational fishers go down on the Goolwa beach and they will go and use their own individual techniques to go and extract their 300 pippies or whatever they're allowed to under the rules. But our crews typically come back with at least a ton of pippies that are harvested from 4 guys, usually over a period of 2 or 3 hours. They literally use a rake and their feet and their legs, and during the middle of winter when they're harvesting, the water is up to their necks. They frequently get bowled over, and it is the wild, wild west.
The cockling season typically starts around September now and runs through to end of May. We come down here around about 200 days a year. Every day is different. We come out with a target, so a total amount of catch that we're looking for, and we're fishing for customers, so we're fishing to a market and we're targeting specific sizes and volumes. When do we fish? So it depends on the best tide. We are still a genuine hand harvest industry, so it's just the man and his rake and a sturdy pair of feet, and a jacket and a beanie.
Just the concentration required to drive a 4-wheel drive laden with people down the beach with washouts and the surf coming in and out. I mean, you are literally driving in and out of the surf to get down to the harvest area. They are seriously tough people, and their legs look like ham hocks, and you shake their hand and they're like rocks, and we would be nothing without the catch. The fact that those guys bring back our catch, Goolwa Pipi Co didn't have that raw material to work with, we wouldn't have a company. On a sunny spring day, it's one of the best jobs you could have in the world, but in the depths of winter when the waves are crashing over their heads, it's one of the toughest workplaces you will ever find. About 5 years ago, when we were starting to get some traction outside the traditional Asian market, a restaurant on the eastern seaboard called Attica, one of the 10 best restaurants in the world, featured a single Goolwa Pipi that was cooked over a rock. And we read the press release and we couldn't believe that this bait had suddenly ended up in one of the top 10 restaurants in the world. And ever since then, when chefs come down on the beach, or we go and visit restaurants in Sydney, or we read Gourmet Traveller and see our little battler Pipi coming up and being the star of the dish, we still shake our heads. We're incredibly proud, and when we didn't believe we would ever be at this place. Goolwa Pipi Co is a Marine Stewardship Council certified fishery for commercial wild caught fisheries. It's the sustainability tick to prove to our customers that we have a sustainably sourced product. But when you really drill down to what Goolwa Pipi Co does with its commercial partners, the Nurrinjeri Nation, I don't think there's a better way that you could demonstrate the sustainable fishing of a resource than to say we've been fishing it for 19,000 years.